You disgust me, I said to her, staring at the miserable reflection of myself on my phone screen. With the phone still in my hand, I sighed, hoping it wouldn't ring. Nothing looked more painfully miserable than I did that evening, sitting under a shed at the bus stop, watching everything pass me by: cars, women, men, children, dogs, cats. Everything moved but me. I sat there as if I were molded into the bench. Then, suddenly, it started to rain. Everyone hurried to catch a bus, many scattering about trying not to get wet. As pathetic as they looked, I envied them. At least they knew where they were going and were eager to get there. Unluckily for me, more people filled the shed, some squeezing themselves onto the bench with me, shoving me left and right. Not a "please" or "excuse me" was uttered among them. Ugh! As if my day wasn't messy enough. A ridiculous-looking nuisance put his arm over my head, dripping water and only God knows what else. EWW. I immediately looked up for confrontation but was met with his hairy belly peeking from beneath his shirt. I couldn't do anything but to drop my head ruefully. Then it happened. All that I dreaded happened. My phone rang. The mummy flashed on the screen and I stared at it, wishing it was another hallucination. It stopped ringing for a moment and then started again. I threw my head back in frustration. Ugh, this woman wasn't going to stop. I had no choice. I let out a painful sigh as I picked up the phone. "Hello, are you there?" she asked. "Hello," she repeated after no response from me. "Yeah, I'm here," I replied, wondering what she wanted. "Are you out? It's very noisy." "Yeah, came out for fresh air." "In the rain?" she asked, surprisingly, followed with a long pause. "Yeah, in the rain." I sighed. The conversation was getting longer than I expected. "Oh, really?" she scoffed. "Anyway, I know today is your payday, so just reminding you to buy some things for the house on your way home, okay?" Finally, right to the point. "Okay." I hung up and threw the phone into my bag, letting out a loud sigh. The good thing was people had left the shed. They all got their buses. Good for them. "Can you please move?" I looked to my left and saw a schoolgirl, barely wet and with the brightest smile I had ever seen. It might have been the brightest thing I'd seen all year. I was jealous. Having the will to choose happiness in a world where sadness easily sails your ship is a gift to be treasured. I never had that gift, that luxury. I wasn't complaining though. I understood a fact, a very painful fact. Not everyone was meant to be happy or have things their way. Some, like us, were just meant to regret every single second we lived, and that is a truth I have been forced to live by. I started to wonder why she was out so late and in the rain, but I didn't want to start a conversation, so I turned my face away, ignoring her presence. Then suddenly I felt several pokes on my arm. I turned around to see her big brown eyes staring into mine. Whoa, this girl didn't know about personal space at all. She was all up in my face, like, "Move back, why so close, girl?" "You have really pretty eyes," she said, smiling and looking at them one at a time. "You have really good facial harmony too. I wish I was pretty like you. Would you like to switch?" I asked firmly. "Huh?" she said, startled and confused. "Would you like to switch places with me?" "Because I would. I would love to be 13, 14, or whatever age you are right now, in a pretty uniform, barely wet, with the brightest smile a miserable person has ever seen. I would love to be you right now, watching a total stranger lose her mind." My voice started to crack. I would love that. I wasn't going to break, no, I wasn't going to break down in front of this girl. I held back my tears and hid my tear-stained eyes. "And didn't your mother teach you not to speak to strangers?" "You're not a stranger though. I know you, although you might not know me," she said. Really? Did she really know me? Was she really going to turn out to be my guardian angel or my grandma, whom I lost a month ago? Could it be? "My father has a shop opposite this bus stop, and you buy snacks from us every morning before going into the company. I believe you work there." "Well, I worked there, not anymore. Everything will be fine, just believe it," she said, almost as if she could feel my pain through looking into my eyes. "Maria," a man called from afar. She stood up and flashed a warm smile at me before running through the rain to meet her dad. As I watched them get into their truck, a little smile formed slowly on my face. That was it. It was getting late and it almost felt like I was the only one there. The rain wasn't stopping anytime soon, and I needed to leave. "Let's go," I told myself as I picked up my stuff and ran through the rain. Before continuing, I paused to give the company one last look. Homely Affairs was boldly written on it, a company I had sold my youth to and slaved for 5 years. Not a thank you or well done did I get. As the memories flooded through me, my shoulders slumped and tears started pouring down my cheeks. And that's how I became the random girl crying on the side of the road under the heavy rain because she was laid off. That would be the exact thought of the strangers who saw me. I continued to walk further, away from the company, soaking wet and crying uncontrollably. What was wrong with me? I tried to think of the little girl, whom I imagined was my grandma. Maybe that was truly her. Who knows? It meant that grandma still loved me and everything was truly going to be okay, right? No, you stupid girl. That wasn't your grandma or any guardian angel. That was just a girl who happened to see another loser laid off by that stupid company and thought to cheer you up. She probably does that to everyone she sees, and today was your turn. You are not special, not special. I'm so stupid, I muttered under my breath, my head drooping. Suddenly a great fear came over me as I came into a wicked realization that I had walked myself into the middle of the road, with a truck and its bright headlights bearing down on me. Immediately my legs went numb and I couldn't move, I couldn't scream, I just stood there like a deer awaiting its death. Wow, what a life I had lived. As much as I wanted to flee, a greater part of me wanted to be still. Even though I was only 26, it felt like I had lived long enough. If death by truck on a rainy day was the end of me, then I was okay with it. As I closed my eyes, submitting to my assumed fate, I felt 2 tight grips form on both of my arms, yanking me off the road. I watched in horror as the truck passed by, screeching off and almost getting into an accident too. With the heavens looking down on me and rain pouring all over me, my back landed on what felt like a person. I had fallen on someone? My eyes widened, I quickly turned to see the person and there he was, a man clad in a black suit with a peculiar golden pin on his left chest. It was a golden bird. It looked familiar, but I couldn't remember where I had seen it or what bird it was. I couldn't ponder too much on it though, for there was a bigger problem than figuring out if the bird was a dove or an eagle. He was bleeding from his head. Have I killed someone? I thought to myself. The truck driver rushed to me, yelling as he ran, Ma'am, do you need help? Is he all right? He could clearly see me trying to move him. Of course he wasn't all right. I'm so sorry. I didn't see you there. Well, I shouldn't have been there. The rain, too heavy you know, he said, panicking. Can you help me, please? A ride to the hospital, I requested with teary eyes. He immediately joined in and helped me prop him up. Under the rain, trying to move a motionless 6-foot man across the road without getting into another accident seemed like a moment forever. The ride to the hospital felt like an endless torment, with the relentless rain pounding against the windshield, and navigating the truck through the downpour was more of a harrowing dance, dodging potholes and praying that the man whose blood soaked my clothes would hold on just a little longer. Each pothole we hit sent a jolt of fear through me as I clung to the man who had saved my life. As I sat in the backseat, clutching him tightly, my hand pressed against his chest, desperate to feel the rise and fall that meant he was still breathing. In the darkness, my thoughts raced, but one question echoed louder than the others. Why did he save me? His pain was evident in every grimace, his words barely coherent as they slipped from his lips. Panic gnawed at me, and I leaned forward. Are we almost there? I asked the driver, my voice trembling with fear. The truck driver glanced at me through the rearview mirror, his face pale with panic. His attempt to reassure me was weak, and I could see through it immediately. We were still far from the hospital. Almost there, ma'am, he replied, his voice unconvincing. I turned my attention back to the man beside me, who was now muttering something under his breath, fighting through the pain. Rosetta, he murmured, pain lacing every syllable. The name cut through the air, leaving me stunned. Who was Rosetta? And why was he calling out for her now? A pang of jealousy flickered in my chest, irrational but undeniable. I hardly knew this man, yet here I was, on the brink of shouting, my name is not Rosetta, It's Ara. It was absurd to feel this way about someone I had just met, especially under these circumstances. But the jealousy was real, and it made me angry at myself for feeling it. He called out her name again, more yearning in his voice this time. My frustration grew, but I knew that if keeping him alive meant hearing this Rosetta's name over and over, I would scream it alongside him. So, as he clung to consciousness, I found myself silently willing her to be the strength he needed to survive. Rosetta, if you felt a strange tug at your heart on the night of July 4th, around midnight, it was us, a wounded man and a wretched girl who caused his suffering, calling out your name like it held the key to his survival. At last, the truck screeched to a halt. We had reached the hospital. Help! I shouted, my voice trembling as I struggled to pull him from the truck. He's bleeding. 2 nurses rushed over, swiftly helping to carry him inside the building where they carefully laid him on a stretcher, the stark white sheets already stained with crimson. I stared down at him, silently begging the heavens not to be cruel, to spare his life. Is he going to be all right? I asked one of the nurses who had stepped forward to assess his condition. What happened to him? She demanded, her voice sharp and unyielding. I froze, my mind scrambling for words. How could I explain something I didn't fully understand myself? My face went blank, my words stumbling over one another. I stammered. He was in an accident, miss, the truck driver interjected. He fell and hit head really hard on He snapped his fingers, searching for the right word. A pavement, I blurted out, the realization hitting me. Yes, a pavement. Please, take care of him first. You can ask us questions later, I pleaded, desperation creeping into my voice. But she just stood there, as if weighing whether to help or not. What are you waiting for? My voice hardened, anger flaring as I locked eyes with her. How could she stand there, doing nothing, while a man lay bleeding and fighting for his life? I was seconds away from asking if she was possessed. She straightened, a fierce look crossing her face. Don't tell me what to do, she snapped with a smirk tugging at her lips. For a moment, I wondered if I had stumbled into the wrong hospital. She stared me down with a menacing glare while the other nurses who had helped us earlier seemed to back away, suddenly finding their hands occupied with thin air instead of helping him. Just as I was about to sink my fangs into her skin, a voice bellowed from the distance. What's going on here? Why the noise? The authority in his voice was unmistakable. The nurses instantly formed a line, avoiding his gaze with their eyes glued to the floor. He strode toward us, lab coat swishing and an aura of command surrounding him. It was clear he was the one in charge. Yet even his presence didn't rattle her. He approached us, slowly placing a firm hand on her back. What happened? He asked, his tone softened only slightly by concern. She didn't respond right away, instead she slowly turned her scornful eyes toward him and gestured for him to look down. His eyes widened in shock as he saw the figure on the stretcher. Jonathan? The name slipped from his lips, laden with disbelief. Confusion etched itself onto my face. Jonathan? I echoed, the shock evident in my voice. You know him? I asked, the question hanging in the air. Without answering, he barked orders at the nurses to take Jonathan to the They didn't hesitate and sprung into action, but as they wheeled him away, his left hand dangled off the stretcher, and something fell, rolling across the floor. Instinctively I ran to it, and it happened to be a ring, a brass-looking ring and a cryptic inscription on it, barely visible in the dim light. I quickly shoved it into my pocket as footsteps approached. What are you doing? A voice sneered behind me. I didn't need to turn around to know who it was. I knew it had to be no one but her. The one person I despised more than anything. I didn't bother to look at her as I stood and moved past her, heading towards the doctor. Is he going to be all right? I asked, my eyes searching his face. He seemed uneasy, as if he hadn't noticed me standing there. His gaze was still fixed on the stretcher now disappearing down the corridor. I cleared my throat to get his attention and he flinched, quickly masking his discomfort with a smile, a fake one. I recognized it instantly because I'd perfected the same expression in countless situations, especially dealing with difficult customers. But I wasn't a customer at all, so what was troubling him so much? He clasped his hands together and let out a heavy sigh. "It is well," he said, offering me another forced smile, which I mirrored. "Thank you for bringing him in, I'm really grateful. So who are you to him?" He leaned forward, his eyebrows raised, curiosity etched across his face. "Well, my phone rang, interrupting me. The mummy flashed on the screen. I'd never been so happy to see her call before, but in that moment, I welcomed the interruption. "I'm really sorry, I have to take this," I said, forcing another smile as I stepped away. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw her, the one I hated, with her arms tightly crossed on her chest, watching me with wild, crazy eyes and curiosity. "Arrah!" The voice from my phone jolted me back to reality. I'd been so lost in the moment that I forgot I had answered the call. "Ara, where are you? It's 1 a.m., and you're not home. What kind of foolishness is this?" Her voice was shrill, each word cutting deeper than the last. "No groceries like I asked. Are you out drinking with your paycheck? Are you? Answer me?" she added with her voice sharp, cutting through the night air. All I could hear was her selfishness. I had never stayed out this late before, and the only thing she cared about was the money. How was I supposed to tell her there was no money? That I had been in an accident? Would she even care? Would she really care at all? I ended the call and walked out of the building, unwilling to deal with her any longer. I could not bother to waste my energy on her, and thankfully the rain had ceased, leaving everything soaked and the air heavy with the scent of damp earth. I shivered, feeling a mix of fear and exhaustion. I had never been out this late before. The unfamiliarity of it made me uneasy, and fear began to creep in, sending shivers down my spine. Just as I was about to start leaving, I spotted someone familiar. I moved closer to the figure. My eyes widened in shock as I saw him, slumped on a bench, snoring softly, nearly falling off. The truck driver. I couldn't believe he had waited for me. I gently shook him. "Sir, you can't sleep here. Sir, wake up." He jolted awake, already half defending himself, until he realized it was me. Poor man had waited all this time. A wave of gratitude washed over me for this old man who had held up. And with that, I knew it was time to leave. It suddenly felt eerily quiet, almost as if I were alone, but I wasn't. An old truck driver was there to take me home, and with everything, I had caused enough trouble for one night.
Thanks for watching. If you felt that, trust me, part 2 hits even harder. It drops tomorrow, so don't miss it. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell, so you're the first to catch it. I post daily, so there's always more where that came from. See you in the next one.